Hi, this is Anil and welcome to the video tutorial for the Learning Lad on C++ programming. So in this tutorial we're going to be learning about the comparison and logical operators. In C++ we have the comparison operators such as less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to, and we have some logical operators called and, or, not. Alright guys, now we're gonna see how to use all these operators in our programs. So just for the demonstration purpose, here in this tutorial we're gonna be asking the user to enter a date. So we're gonna check that date using the if and the comparison and logical operators, and we're gonna print the appropriate message. Alright, first we need a variable to receive the value entered by the user. So I'm going to create an integer variable and I'm going to call it as date. Next we need to ask the user to enter the date, and I'm going to use cout and I'm going to ask enter the date. Next I'm going to add a new line here. It's going to be end line, and then we need to use cin to read the input, cin date. Alright, now the date variable is going to contain the date entered by the user. So now we need to check that date, and depending on that we need to print out some message. So to check that we're going to use the if with the parenthesis and a curly braces, and then here we need to form the condition. So to form the condition we're going to use the comparison operators. So we're going to use the less than symbol and the greater than symbol now. Normally the date is said to be valid in a month when it is between 1 to 31st. So we need to check two conditions here: whether the date is less than 1, in that case that is invalid date, and also if the date is greater than 31, that is also an invalid case. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check that first condition here. If the date is greater than 0, and we need to use another if the date is less than 32. So if it is so, or if both conditions or this both if evaluated to true, then we can say that the entered date is valid. So I'm going to use cout and I'm going to say date is valid. Else if any one of these fails, it's going to mean that the date is invalid. I'm going to save this one, build and run this, enter the date. I'm going to enter 25. It says date is valid. So this is how you guys can use the less than and the greater than comparison operators. The next thing is about the greater than or equal to and the less than or equal to. So here in this program we're just gonna make a slight modification. If the date is greater than or equal to 1, a greater than 0 means which is greater than or equal to 1, and less than 32 means it's gonna mean that it is less than or equal to 31. I'm gonna save it, build and run this, enter the date. Let's say 15, date is valid. So now we're gonna see how to use the equal to symbol. So we need to use two equal to symbols to form the comparison operator equal to, and if you use only one equal to, then it's going to be the assignment operator and the meaning will be entirely different. Alright, now we're going to use that, and in our program let's say if the date is valid, then let's say my birthday is on 6th, that's why I'm going to compare the date. If I'm going to use another if the date is equal to 6, remember that we are using this equal to symbol twice. If it is so, then we're gonna print out yes, 6 is special. Alright, I'm gonna save it, and also here I'm gonna add a new line using the end line, just to make it pretty, and build and run this. Enter the date. I'm gonna enter, let's say 10. It says date is valid, not that yes 6 is special. So I'm gonna run it again, build and run, or run it. Enter the date 6, date is valid, and yes 6 is special. Alright, now we have seen how to use the comparison operators, and the next one is about the not equal to. Let's say here you just hate the date 6, and I can change this one to not equal to. If the date, whatever the value contains here, is not equal to 6, then I'm gonna say yes, not the devil number. Alright, now I'm gonna build and run this. Enter the date 6. It says date is valid, and since this date is equal to 6, this expression will be evaluated to false, and that's why this statement is not executed. Now if I close it, run it again, and enter any other date, let's say 22, it says date is valid, yes, not the devil number. Alright, so now we have seen about the comparison operators in C++. Now we're gonna be seeing about the logical operators. In C++, we're gonna normally use the operators such as AND, OR, and NOT. So this AND, OR, and NOT are normally used with the Boolean values, or the expression which is gonna evaluate it to Boolean values. So now we're gonna check the date's validity, or whether a date is valid or not, by combining the comparison and the logical operators. So I'm gonna write if. To say that a date is valid, it should be between 1 to 31, and that's why if the date is greater than or equal to 0, and another condition that we need to check is whether the date is less than or equal to 31. Alright, now we need to check both of these conditions, and here we can use a logical operator called AND. To use that operator, we need to write this ampersand symbol twice. So this AND logical operator is gonna yield, or is gonna result true or false. When both of these operands are gonna be true, the AND operator will yield true. If any one of these is false, the AND operator is gonna return false. And that's why here, when the date is greater than or equal to 0 and the date is less than or equal to 31, at that time the both of these operands will be evaluated to true, and this AND will result in true, and that's why the statements inside this if will be executed. So it's gonna be cout, and I'm gonna say date is valid, and if you want we can use the else here. Okay, here it should not be greater than or equal to 0, it should be greater than or equal to 1. Alright, now date is invalid. Alright, I'm gonna save it, I'm gonna build and run this. Enter the date, I'm gonna enter 22, it says date is valid, run it again, build and run, enter the date, I'm gonna say 44, date is invalid. Alright, now we have used this logical operator, and the next one is about the logical operator OR. So this logical operator OR is gonna yield true when any one of these operand is true. Any one, left or right. If any one is true, then it's gonna yield true. If both are false, then it's gonna yield false. For example, here when the date is valid, we're gonna check whether the date is in the middle of the month or not. So here, just for the demonstration purpose, let's say your birth date is 6 and your sister's birth date is 8. Then you want to compare whether the date is 6 or 8. If that date is either 6 or 8, then you're gonna say, okay, today is special. Alright, now I'm gonna use a if here. If the date is equal to 6 or the date is equal to 8. So here we need to check these two conditions, and if any one of this is true, we need to say today is special. So to form this, we're going to use the OR operator. So if date is equal to 6 or if date is equal to 8, if any one of these operands are gonna yield true, this OR is gonna yield true. If both are false, then this OR will yield false. So I'm gonna use cout and I'm gonna say today is special. Alright, I'm gonna save it, build and run this, enter the date. I'm gonna enter 12. It says date is valid. So here both of these operands will be evaluated to false. That's why this OR is gonna evaluate it to false, and that's why this today is special is not executed. And now if I run it again and I'm gonna enter the date as 6, when I hit enter, it says date is valid, today is special. That's because since one of this operand of this OR is true, it yields true, and that's why this statement is executed inside this if. Alright, I'm gonna close it right now. And the next one is about the not operator. This not operator is normally used with the boolean values, and here I'm gonna remove all the code and I'm gonna create a boolean variable bool, and I'm gonna say human. If you are human, then we're gonna say you are human, or else we're gonna say you are unknown or whatever it is. Alright, now this not operator, which is denoted by this symbol, is used when you want to negate the meaning of something. For example, I have true here, and if I use not with it, then it's gonna become false. Whatever the value here, the opposite of that. So here, just for the demonstration purpose, I'm gonna write an if statement. If not human, if you are not a human, then I'm gonna say you are not human. Alright, I'm gonna save it, build and run. Okay, before that we need to initialize. Let's say human equal to true. I am a human, and that's why let's add a else block here also, and we're gonna say cout you are human. Alright, I'm gonna save it, build and run it now. Okay, we have an error. Alright guys, because here I've added the colon, not the semicolon, that's why. Okay, add a semicolon, build and run it. Alright, it says you are human. That's because this human is gonna contain true, and when we not or negate it, it will become false. That's why the if block will not be executed, the else block is executed. And if I change this one to false and build and run it, it says you are not human. Alright, that's it guys. This is about the comparison and the logical operators in C++. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any doubt, don't hesitate to put a comment in the video, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.